Hello and welcome to episode 1 of Wi-Fi Friends. How's it going, John?
Hey, Cameron, it's going pretty fantastic, if I say so myself.
I feel like we should introduce ourselves, because we know each other.
Yeah.
But people don't know us, unless they just do episode 0, which we recorded a year ago.
Which was really weird. But now, I think we've got a pretty good groove of things,
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I mean, you're always improving, but I tell you what, I'll go first. Because I'm obviously the better one.
Wow.
I'm the more attractive.
More professional, definitely.
I don't know. We'll see. My name's Cameron. I've done a bunch of stuff on the internet. John and I have known each other for ages, and I'm a filmmaker. Well, aspiring filmmaker. John and I, we've been friends for, God, it's got to be over 6 years now.
Something like that, yeah.
But we've always known each other through Skype, Facebook, everything, because he lives in America and I live in Wales, which is a place in Britain, for those of you who don't know.
Yes.
So we decided, after doing a bunch of stuff together, that we'd start a podcast to basically force ourselves to keep in contact and keep chatting, because sometimes you can forget to be hey man, how's it going? You're always waiting for the other person to message, and it's just a bit awkward.
Yeah, we're very busy men. We're captains of venture, and business, and we have a lot going on.
You got to make time, between your busy schedule of going to work and sleeping and reading comics.
Yeah.
I guess we should also mention...
I'm the American half of this equation. Aspiring writer. I guess I'm still doing that.
Yeah,
when I find the time.
Yeah, you've the thing is I say filmmaker, you say writer, and we're awkward about it. But I have made films, and you have written things, so it doesn't work.
Self-confidence is not our greatest thing.
No. But yeah, you are a writer. You've written a couple of things. You've written comic books primarily. Do you want to talk about the comic books, or are you?
Yes. So it's on a little bit of a hiatus, I guess you could say that.
Yeah.
Sure, but I have two or three issues of the monogamous adventures of Edward and Pepper through Dead West Comics, I believe they're called now. Yeah. So that's a independent comic book I self-published with Brandon Washington, my artist. Yeah. It's a good time. No alcohol required. I mean, alcohol might make it better.
Nice. Is that a Jeremy Jahns reference there?
Yeah, that was a Jeremy Jahns.
This is how friendly we are. Neither of us have ever mentioned to each other that we know Jeremy Jahns. We just knew. There's some part of us knew that both of us watch him.
I was gonna say we've never talked about him before, but yeah, I reference that a lot.
Yeah.
People at work though don't get it. I'll be like, "Oh, it's a good time, no alcohol required." They're like, "Okay, what does that mean?"
You do that thing where it's if they don't get the reference, you just pretend you made it up. No, it's me. I'm a genius.
I'm like, "Oh no, it was just a dumb thing." I don't know.
But yeah, so if you didn't catch from the fact that he writes them, we are big comic book fans. We're geeks, I guess you would say. So a lot of this podcast is going to be talking about geeky stuff. If you are not interested in that, you can still listen. Maybe you'll just find our personality so overwhelmingly, enticing that you'll enjoy it.
I've been told that I'm very overwhelming to be around.
That could be taken many ways.
Yeah.
Mostly bad.
It's usually bad.
So yeah, I reckon we just get into it. How have you been, John? What have you been up to these past couple of weeks?
So I live in Florida. I work at the Walt Disney World Company at Disney's Hollywood Studios theme park. I don't know if you've heard recently, but we've had a couple hurricanes going our way down in Florida.
A couple little storms. Nothing to be.
Yeah, a couple worst once in a century type storms.
Like some deity is punishing you.
I know. What did we do? I know I haven't been sacrificing my goats lately, but I didn't think that was actually doing anything.
Yeah, I thought you could just get them all done before the end of the year. You just pile them up. They carry over.
But yeah, so we've we have another one coming our way called Maria.
Oh, jeez.
Well, she looks like she might kind of diverge and not hit us. So hopefully,
I'm praying.
However, the Pacific Islands, Puerto Rico, and Barbuda. I don't know if you heard about that that island, but they've been getting wrecked by these storms. It's been really bad. Some of those areas.
I heard that there was one island in particular where it was 95% of the island was uninhabitable after the hurricane left. It was just like
I want to say that was Barbuda, but I not 100%. I didn't do my research before.
Just get the fuck
before
out.
We went online. No. So yeah, it's been fun. Florida's last year we had a hurricane, but it didn't do anything. So we're all we get into this like it's just a hurricane, but like these ones have been pretty bad.
Yeah, well, the thing about Florida, is that you guys kind of have a I know you haven't lived there for a super long time, but like
Florida, it's been 2 years now.
Yeah, it kind of has a reputation for weathering hurricanes, and these hurricanes come pretty much every year, maybe. Again, I haven't done the research, but there's a lot of hurricanes, and it gets to the point where probably like places where it snows a lot, where they're just like, it's just snow, it's just, and then when it snows particularly bad, it's hard to like kind of be like, oh, this is a bad one, So I saw a lot of people, on the news being like, oh, we're just gonna stay in Florida, and people were like, no, this is not the normal hurricane.
A lot of my friends stayed. I did not, but a lot of my friends stayed. They weathered through it. However, I know people who still don't have power right now.
Oh my gosh!
Who still don't have power or water, and the companies are doing their best right now to get everyone back set up, but it's rough.
When you came back, was there any damage to where you live, to near you, or anything like that?
There were some trees down and some fencing and stuff, but we didn't lose anything. Our house looked like nothing had happened, which because I left and went to Alabama.
Yeah.
Because I have family over there, and so with my wife and child, lovely family.
You said it like it's a shout out, like they're famous.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know, but I know a wife
and a 2-year-old. Which is why Doc McStuffins is on the television right now. The doc is in. Boy. Anywho. Yeah, we went to Alabama.
Wait, can I just take a side? I wish that's how kids' programs were like written.
Yeah, I know.
Dora's here, boy!
Boy! Hey!
Alright, anyway.
Oh gosh, but yeah, so that's been basically my life. It's just been hurricane stuff, getting through all that, and trying to just reset everything and help like the community and help like everything kind of get back to normal. And hopefully Maria kind of doesn't hit us. We've been making a lot of West Side Story jokes at work.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
I don't know how much you can because obviously. I've had a couple of jobs. Some of them don't like you talking publicly about stuff that goes on, and obviously Disney's a massive company. But like, so if I ask you any questions where you go, "Oh, I'm not allowed to answer that," but like, has there been any sort of repercussions with the hurricane with regards to work? Like, have there been any rides that have been damaged or shut down or anything like that? Or do you know anything about that?
So I know the water parks I think have just gotten back open.
Oh, okay.
They stayed closed for a little bit longer, but everything, there wasn't too much like major damage. There's like some damage in some of our back areas and stuff like that. But nothing really on stage, like with guests, I should say.
Yeah.
But they were great. They paid us for the 2 days that they were closed.
Oh, wow, that's good.
Other stuff, so they donated a whole bunch of blankets and pillows and stuff to the Red Cross. Disney's always great about when it's time to step up, stepping up.
Yeah, and it's crazy as well because, like, I've been to Florida Disney World a couple times, and it always baffles me. Like, it's the right... for all the states they chose, they were like, no, we're going to go with the hurricane state. Like, we're going to go with the state that gets hit the most. So you got to know that, like, their rides, obviously, the rides have to be safe in normal conditions. Yeah. But, like, you always think, like, you never hear about, like, a ride, getting hit by a hurricane. You never hear about it going down really badly. So they must be built pretty well.
Yeah. So, really, those things are, like, behemoths. But then it's funny because during the day they'll just stop working for no reason. But they can hit a hurricane. But
yeah, well, because that's the thing. They stop working like in inconvenient ways. I've never heard of them stop working in bad ways. Like I remember once, it was I'm so bad at remembering rides that I'm too scared to go on because I have no reason to remember them. What's the one? Thunder Mountain? No, not Thunder Mountain. The one that's like a western. It's in the Magic Kingdom. It's like a western like minecart.
Yeah, there's Thunder Mountain.
Is it? Oh, okay. I thought Thunder Mountain was the rocket ship one. Oh,
no, God, that's Space Mountain.
That's the one. Yeah, they're both mounted.
Yeah.
So I remember.
Which shout out to my boy Ric Flair, Space Mountain.
Did Ric Flair do something on? Did he wrestle?
He used to always when he was during his prime. A lot of times he'd joke about taking a girl to Space Mountain.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he said he's gonna take her to Space Mountain.
That sounds like something Ric Flair would say.
And by the way, can I just say how happy I am that he's healthy?
Oh, Ric Flair's good now, is he?
Yes, he's good. But there was recently he had a health thing, and like everyone was like for sure saying that like it was not good.
Well, that's the thing. You're right, because I heard murmurs and stuff on the internet, and I just assumed it was like real bad. I didn't want to look at it in case like he died or something. But like I assumed
he's good. He's got this T-shirt that says "I'm not effing dead yet," and I was like, Ric Flair, the greatest of all time.
That's great. He's pretty good. Isn't his daughter wrestling now, or did I hear that wrong?
Yeah, Charlotte.
Yeah, I thought because I used to be a big wrestling fan, but I don't keep up with it now. But like I see little things, and obviously a lot of it I don't understand because wrestling's very like the story doesn't stop. The story just keeps moving, and if you miss a couple of weeks, you're like, what is going on? So,
I did watch this British wrestling company called Progress recently.
Oh, you tweeted about that. You were saying and
really good, really good. Yep, I really loved it.
I have to check that out. I can't believe we're talking about Ric Flair right now. But like, I don't know. Like, I see little things, and I saw something where it was like a woman wrestler, and she was in the kind of style of Ric Flair, and I was like, oh, maybe that's his daughter. Maybe she's wrestling. And I always liked Ric Flair because I love Triple H, and those two knew each other, and just like, oh man,
Triple H greatest of all time, by the way. Just throwing that out there.
Triple H is the best. Triple H was so cool that like when I was a kid, I always was such a goody two shoes, and I was like, the villains are bad. But then I saw Triple H, and he was the first villain that I was like, no, I want the villain to win. Like, because obviously he went around. He was like a hero sometimes, and sometimes he was the heel. But like when he was the heel, I was like, no, he's got to win. He's got to win.
But he's so cool. Look at him with his jacket and his sledgehammer,
and he spits water into the air like a rebel.
I've always now be honest. You've tried the water spit too, right?
I did that every day. Like my parents thought I was losing my mind. Like,
is that how you're gonna enter to your wedding?
Maybe
I'll do the water spit.
Yeah. I'll do the spit, and my best man will do this. Shawn Michaels.
Shawn Michaels. Yeah.
See, it's still in there. It's in the back of my brain. I just gotta kind of pull it out. I just gotta heave it out. But yeah, what were we talking about? How we doing? Oh,
we were talking about Big Thunder Mountain, and then we went to Space Mountain, and that went to Ric Flair, so that went to Triple H.
This will happen a lot. If you didn't listen to episode 0, which I recommend you don't do because it was a long time ago, but like, we will ramble, and we don't apologize for that. But we'll try to stick to it. What have I been doing? I guess I should talk.
What are you up to?
It's been less life-threatening. I'll say that. That's one thing.
That's good.
It's interesting. I'm in this moment now where the way films work is awkward for employment because they start up, we're like, oh, we're going to make a film. So just hire a bunch of people, and then during the process, while they're making the film, sometimes they'll hire more people as they go for particular scenes or stuff like that. Yeah. Because you need more people for some stuff and don't. So there's a TV show that was shooting around here, and towards like their 5th episode, they were like, oh, we need some more people. So I applied, they jumped on, I got really good friends with everyone, and we had a really good time. We made the thing. We made the rest of the episodes. We made the TV show. And then, obviously, when they finish making the TV show, unlike every other job, where you do a good job and you stay on, it's like you've done a good job, but the TV show's done filming, so everyone loses their job at the same time.
Yeah, so then you have to go find something else, basically.
Yeah, so it's in this in-between page right now, where like I'm really happy with the work that I did on that TV show, and it's coming out, so I'm watching it. and it's like, oh, that's cool, I was there for that, and I was, I met all these people, but like, it's also this thing of like, well, it's over, and so it's a weird situation, but you're getting on. I've just been.
So what were your responsibilities with the TV show?
So I was a runner, which is like, it's pretty beginner stuff, but like it basically just means that you. This is the best to describe it. Most people know what a director is. And then under the director you have the assistant director, who has still got masses of responsibility. The director will literally just think of things and then say them to the assistant director, and then it's the assistant director to do all those things, Like the director will mostly, and like the actors, they work a lot, but everything else, it's not a hands-on job. The directors will be the mind, the creative vision and stuff, whereas the assistant director will then go and do that stuff. And then the second assistant director, their job is to like kind of like a more organizational thing. So like the assistant director will go and do stuff and tell people to do stuff. Then the second assistant director will organize, and they'll be like, okay, this is what they want us to do. This is what we're going to organize. I'm going to call this person,
in times and locations.
Stuff like that. Then the third assistant director, it's crazy. It usually doesn't get this long on like small productions, but like this is it was pretty big production. So like the third will be like, basically will be the person that runs from department to department, being like conveying the message and also like helping out wherever they can. And the runners kind of work with and for the third assistant, so we all kind of like these bees and we'll buzz around and like, so like if someone like if an actor needs a coffee, you got to go get them a coffee. If the lighting rig needs an extra thing, you got to grab that and stuff. So it is very much just like I guess whipping boy is the way to describe it. Like,
but no, it's a very, very integral part of the operation.
It's an interesting role because it only exists on these huge productions where there's like 200 people on the same day all working to make one thing, where
everyone needs coffee.
Yeah, you need coffee, you need like things, you need just anything. Like it's an interesting job, and I really enjoy it because it's always going to be different, because there's different scenes require different things. So it's just like you never know what you can do. Each day was different, but it was exciting. And like I was saying to Jan, like I should explain, Jan's my fiance, but like I was saying to Jan, like it's interesting because you feel even the small things that you do, you feel like it's part of a bigger thing, it's part of something better, it's something bigger. So so when the film comes out, when the TV show came out, it was just like I felt like I was part of it, even though I didn't do much. It was like, well,
I was gonna say, what show is it?
I don't know if I want to say, because like I signed an NDA, but I'll figure out whether I can say. I'll say in later episodes.
Okay,
but like,
so if anything offline, because I want to watch it somehow,
well, it's
just so I could say my boy worked on this. So like we'll figure it out. NDAs are very complicated.
They are, and I'm sure that when it's all out, they'll have no problem like me saying and stuff. But I just don't know the intricacies. It was one of those things where I was excited to get the job. I signed the thing, and I just didn't even think about it.
Oh yeah, I mean, I work for a company that like I can't talk. There are a lot of aspects about it that I can't talk about, which is it's really weird, because like everyone's like, "What about this stuff?" And I'm like, I know you probably know about it because people have broken those contracts and talked about it before, but like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, you don't want to be the person that does that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've just kind of, just been looking for the next thing and stuff, and just getting on with it. I have obviously a part-time job that I do to keep me going, which is I work at a cinema, which is always fun. You get to see movies, but and again, I'm not complaining. The job's great. A lot of people have way worse jobs, but when you have to watch a bad movie for 7 times in a row, it does get that's the only bad thing. There's currently this movie called, and I'm not dissing the movie, it's probably good in French, the movie called The Jungle Bunch, and I'm not sure if it is French, but I'm pretty sure it's French, and it looks very dubbed, like it looks like it's dubbed for an English audience. And whoever did the dub, maybe they were having a bad day, but the dub is not good. It doesn't line up.
They're just sleeping through it.
It is worse than any anime dub I've ever seen.
And I've seen some bad anime dubs.
Yeah, it's just like the mouths. They didn't edit the mouths. They didn't cut the footage short or
I
long.
would rather just do subtitles than have a bad dub. Like
I agree with you, but I understand this is a kids movie, so they were like, we gotta dub it.
Oh, okay.
But it's just interesting, and it's one of those things where even though it's a bad movie and pretty much no one has heard of it that I know, it still gets a bunch of people coming in for it because parents will take their kids to any kids movie. Like if a kid wants to see a movie and there's a kids movie and it doesn't matter if it's a French avant-garde kids movie, it doesn't matter. They're gonna take because you gotta, your kid can sit still for 2 hours or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I don't bludgeon the parents and stuff. It's just fun to watch this movie and be like, what? They really did not care. I don't understand. There are scenes where like characters will talk, and obviously the French version of the sentence was a lot shorter, so the scene will cut away, but you'll still hear them talking because they haven't finished saying it. But yeah, so they've been pretty good. Should we talk about? This is a really cool idea that I thought you thought of the podcast, where in the middle of each podcast we talk about what we're currently like obsessing about, what specifically we're talking about, what we specifically we're like reading, watching, playing. What's your current like favorite thing right now?
So right now, a guy at work brought up Dragon Ball Super.
Oh my god, I've never watched Dragon Ball.
I watched like the first movie that came out. Okay. And me and my friend and Steve, mutual friend Steve from the internet.
Steve Baxter.
Yeah, Steve Baxter. We were talking. We were actually talking about Dragon Ball for a while.
Okay.
It's like 100 episodes deep now, but for some reason I was really bored, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna restart Dragon Ball Super. So I'm into the Frieza Resurrection arc.
That sounds very much like a Dragon Ball thing.
I know, and I don't mind it actually. The art style I'm not in love with. The animation is definitely like it's not even it feels like a kid's version. Like the lines are much cleaner.
Yeah.
The animation's much cleaner and much kind of like simple. It's simplistic. So I don't love the animation style, but it's Dragon Ball. It's characters being dumb and like training and people dying and just like it's just what I used to watch. So I don't know, it's weird. It's not like setting the world on fire. It's not my favorite anime in the world, but it's kind of what I'm watching right now.
I think it's weird though to hear like a clean because Dragon Ball, again, I said I never watched it. I've never watched Dragon Ball Z or anything. I have a lot of friends that have, but every time I see stuff about it, because it's hard to avoid, I always really respect how like gritty and like almost old it feels. Like when you watch the animation, it's very like early. Well, it's not as early as like something like Fist of the North Star, but like it's early anime. Like it's rough around the edges, and like the faces are almost too big sometimes, and the hair is crazy and stuff. So to think of like Dragon Ball of all animes being made like HD and clean, it just sounds weird. It sounds like it's going against the style.
It took a while for me to like kind of wrap my head around. I'm like, oh, okay, wow, it's different, but it's a nice palate cleanser because it's nothing like. I don't have to super pay attention. Like I can kind of just have it on and kind of just like watch, but like I'm not super invested in it, I
get what you mean. Yeah.
So that's pretty nice. And then I've also started 91 Days.
What is that?
So it's on. I found it on Crunchyroll. It's this Prohibition era. Okay. Like mob, gangsters and mafia families, and there's this boy and his family, and this rival mafia family murders his entire family.
Oh, jeez.
And then he leaves the town for 7 years, and now he's back.
Does he wear a bat costume?
He doesn't, sadly. But he does start to sell moonshine. And I'm on the early stuff, but I could kind of tell, like, all right, he's going to start selling the moonshine, sell it to this family. The Don of the family is the one who murdered his family, his parents. Okay. So he's going to try and, like, he changed his name, so he's going to slide into the organization and I'm sure, like, destroy it from within. But it's really, like, the first, like, 30 seconds are really kind of, like, it just grabs you.
Yeah,
because it's, like, this nice rainy scene. Guy's just walking up some steps, opens up an envelope, and his eyes just, like, turn like super, like they just wide open, and he gets this like crazy look on his face, and the picture in the envelope is like a picture of like his younger brother.
Oh, okay.
And it's just like, what? Oh, okay. Like it's just one of those things that immediately you're like, all right,
yeah.
Let's do this. Okay.
I like it when stuff grabs you like that, because even like some of my favorite shows, if you go back and watch the first episode, or read the first chapter of a book that you really love. It doesn't always grab you. Like, even great things sometimes take a long. So when a show can be like, this is the show, you are watching it, and you're not going to start watching it for a while. You're like, oh, okay.
You're like, all right, cool, I'm in. Let's do this. 91 days. So that's really good. My Crunchyroll queue is redonkulous right now.
I've been struggling. I would actually. The problem is in different countries they have different things available on streaming platforms. But like, I'm looking for some Crunchyroll recommendations because the British one is kind of bare bones, and I've watched kind of all the shows there that I know of that are good. My friend told me to watch Free, which was kind of blowing up like a year or two.
Free is great. I love Free.
And like, I was like excited. I was excited because like everyone was like, oh, it's great, great. It's like, about swimming and stuff. And then I started watching it and I got confused, and it wasn't even like an episode in. I realized I was watching the sequel. They did like a sequel series, and I just completely ruined everything for me. I just didn't know what was going on. So I was like, oh, damn, that's kind of... So I might.
And they're having like a 4 episode, like another one coming out.
I wouldn't be surprised. People love that anime.
Like Free Endless Summer or Endless Melody or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, I love Free. Haikyuu is really good too. It's a volleyball anime.
Oh, dude, yeah. It's something about sports animes. I don't know what it is about the like Japanese animators and sports, but they managed to take like things that I don't care about, like volleyball or like, what did I watch once? I watched like an anime about a sport that I literally had no care in the world for, and by
have you seen Yuri on Ice?
No, people keep saying that as well. It's another one where people.
That's really good. That's a really good one too.
Yeah, we'll probably get into this at some point. Maybe not this podcast, but I was talking to my niece about the Death Note film because she's a huge Death Note fan, the anime, and we were talking about the film. And she was like, oh, you gotta watch Yuri on Ice. You gotta watch Yuri on Ice. And I was just like, I feel like I've passed like knowing what anime is in now. Like, I used to be like the dude who was like, oh, this is the anime that people are watching and it's great and this is Attack on Titan. But I was listening to her talk about it. I was like, I don't know what people watch anymore. Like, I'm old in terms of anime.
This thing, I'm still like, I've gotten lucky because Crunchyroll's been great, and like I follow their social media accounts, so a lot of times I'll see shows that they post. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, cool, that looks interesting. Like, I'll try that. So, like, my queue has a whole bunch of random... Like, I have Cowboy Bebop still in my Crunchyroll queue.
Oh, I love that anime.
Because that's on Crunchyroll now, and I'm like, oh my god, yes. Yeah. Because I'm probably going to rewatch that, because Cowboy Bebop's amazing.
Well, that's the thing. The problem with... I think my problem with anime is, like, I've gotten to a point where I'll just be like, oh, I'm in the mood for an anime, and I'll just rewatch one of my favorites, because it's, like, reliable. Like, I've rewatched My Little Monster...
Oh my, so
which,
good.
Obviously, is my favorite, and is a lot of people's like that like it because it's great. But like, I've rewatched that more than I've like gone, oh, I'll try a new anime. Like,
that's my thing is I've literally, even though like shows like My Little Monster or My Teen Romantic Comedy Snafu, which is a very long title.
An amazing title though.
I love that show. It has 2 seasons, but the problem is that it does what anime loves to do, which is it gets you on a cliffhanger. And then the show never comes back.
Yeah, I feel like they know they're not coming back as well. They're just like, well, we got to do the standard cliffhanger with no resolution thing.
Yeah, but it's like I loved the journey so much that I'm just like, I'm just gonna rewatch it, even though I know there's no satisfying ending.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing though. I think there is a cool element of that though. That a lot of these animes, they're such great stories with no, because it makes you think about like, well. I mean, even if it did end, we don't know what happens. Like animes that do end and they have these nice endings, you still don't know what happened because they're made up characters. They just stop, they stop existing. So these animes where they go, oh, this thing could happen, but you're never gonna know. They're kind of like, maybe again, I'm going way too deep, but maybe they're trying to make a statement that they're like, hey, you never know, life goes on. Yeah.
Well, and then a lot of them are based upon like manga that are already finished.
Yeah.
So there's always that. But then my thing, like, at the same time, I'm really starting to love short form anime.
Okay.
Ones that are just like 12 episodes or something. They have a finite beginning and end. And it's just like, it's just good. It's nice, like a nice palette, like kind of just like, oh, I just want something that has like a beginning and an end. And that's all I need, like, because there's stuff like Dragon Ball and One Piece that are like 800, 900
Yeah.
episodes that I'm never going to catch back up on.
Well, I think it's interesting as well because those short form ones are they're cool. I watched one the NHK, Welcome to the NHK, and I watched it and then I got it on DVD because I loved it so much. And it's just like very much beginning, middle, and end. And you watch the end and you can't really tell where they would go if they ever got a second season.
Yeah.
Because it's very much just like, this is what the story we wanted to tell. And you watch it and it's almost like it catches you off guard because you're watching it, and even me telling you now that it's got a second season, if you do end up watching it, like, you'll still, because of the nature of anime, you'll be like, oh, well, this is going to be one of those things where it ends on a cliffhanger, I'm never going to know. But then you get the ending, and it's kind of like, yeah, they do try to kind of make that point in the anime of like, you know, shit will happen with these characters. These characters go on to do a bunch of other stuff, but you'll only know this story because this is the story that we wanted to tell you, you know? And it's just, it's interesting. Another type of anime that, you know, is dealing with the whole, like, never getting a second season are these, like, I don't know, you've probably seen a couple, they're on Crunchyroll, but like each episode is so self-contained. It's obviously same characters each episode, like maybe 13 episodes, maybe even 6 episodes, some of these, but they're like completely self-contained stories each episode, and they like have no consequence. There's no like through plot. It's just like, I think one of them was like a wife and a husband, and it was about like their marriage and stuff, and he's like a super geek and she's just not the opposite, but they still kind of make it work. And like each episode
they're like 3 episodes long or 3 minutes long or something.
Yeah, and it's just interesting. It's like these like short, like, I don't know, they're kind of fun to watch though, because there's no like, you're never going to be like, I'm so invested, but you just kind of enjoy them, and it's an interesting way to do the animes. I don't know, I need to get, this conversation is making me want to watch anime again because I haven't watched it for a while. It's definitely not my current fave, but it might be next week's.
What are you currently on?
I've been I mean, dude, right? I'm unhealthily obsessed with Star Wars. It's getting to the point now. Like, I was able to control it before they brought it back. Like when before Disney bought it and brought back Star Wars, I was able to control because I was always like, well, there's never going to be any more, so I can just enjoy the movies. And then kind of enjoy the prequels, even though like people shitting them and I don't like them. There's still very good elements of them that I could enjoy. You know,
I think there's a lot of things out of context that is like still is good by itself.
Yeah, and also like the video games, they kind of improved the prequels and stuff, and they added stuff.
Yeah,
the Clone Wars obviously, but like I was able to contain it. But ever since The Force Awakens and the slew of new stuff that's been out since, it's just been getting uncontrollable, and I found myself like just everything. Like, I need to consume it all. Like, and I'm currently like in the middle of listening to I like audiobooks a lot because I've only recently started listening to them, but like it's like a podcast but more with a story. I guess that's obvious. It's kind of redundant to say, but like, I don't know, it's just like I love podcasts, but like it just kind of melds my two favorite things, you know, storytelling and podcasts. So I've been listening to this new book that just came out about Captain Phasma, and it's kind of like her origin story and stuff, because I love the design of that character, and I thought like what little we saw of her in that movie was just compelling. But like a lot of people, I felt like, man, I want to see more, and we'll probably get more obviously in the sequels and stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
But I just really like wanted to know what that character's deal was, so I've been listening to the audiobook pretty much every chance I get. Like, it's like 12 hours long or something. I'm really enjoying it. It's interestingly told. It's like it's about a rebel in like around about Force Awakens time. I think it's set a little bit before the events, but she's like part of the resistance. She gets captured by this like a Star Destroyer. She gets captured by a Star Destroyer, and they're like, this one particular stormtrooper is like, tell me everything you know about Captain Phasma, because I know you've been investigating her, and I've got like a grudge against her. So she's in this interrogation room, and as she tells stories about Captain Phasma, it obviously transitions back to those times, and then you hear the stories like about Captain Phasma's origins and stuff and where she came from. And I've just been really enjoying it. It's like really cool how like you it's almost like two plot lines running at the same time, and you want to know if the resistance, you know, girl is going to get out of that situation, but you also want to keep telling the stories. And like a lot of people, they don't like these extended universe things because they just feel like, you know, well, if it's information, it should be in the movies, or it's like, you know. But it's interesting because none of the information in the Phasma novel is like important to the movies.
Yeah,
it's not.
It's something that you like need to know to watch.
Exactly, but it just adds something. Like when you watch her and she's like, she's talking to Kylo Ren and stuff, knowing like what she had to go through and all the stuff that built up to this character. It just improves the movies, I think, and the story's compelling, but also like that element of it, and I always argue in favor of this extended universe stuff because it's just if you want to improve your viewing experience, you can, but you don't have to. Like if something was in the book that was like, and then the next movie, if you didn't read the book, you wouldn't understand it. Then I'd get that's annoying. But like if they were like, it's Greg,
ancillary, I think that's the word. Yeah.
And it's the same with the Clone Wars and everything like that. But I'm enjoying that, and I'm also at the same time as listening to that, we've Jen and I have been reading the Leia book.
Okay.
And that's really, I just like that character is so good. Like the character of the Princess Leia, like she began as like that princess in the first movie, but they've taken her in such cool places, and the way they deal with the whole like, because you never get to see it in the movies. It's like he goes, "Oh yeah, Darth, you're my sister, and Darth Vader's your real dad," and she goes, "Oh okay," and then you never get to see her react to it really.
Yeah, she doesn't really deal with that.
So it's interesting reading this Bloodlines book, which is about Leia after that, and just kind of, that's Luke had time to process it, and we saw him go through all the things, whereas Leia just gets dumped on it.
He destroyed. It's like if your dad murdered your stepmom and dad.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like he destroyed her home planet.
Yeah, and like you never get it to see, and also I'm not sure. Like reading the book, it's vague. But I'm pretty sure she thought Bail Organa was her real dad. Like I'm not 100%, but like not only does he say, Darth Vader's your father, but he also says, that guy you thought was your father, he's not your real father. Like it's crazy. So I don't know. But yeah, I've been reading. I always am, but I've been reading a Star Wars kind of mood right now.
December.
That's what it is. It's ever close. It just keeps creeping.
Last Jedi is coming out. And then, have you seen the stuff about Battlefront 2?
I've seen little pieces and bits. I'm excited.
It has a single-player story mode.
Yes.
And it's spanning 30 years from after the second Death Star is destroyed all the way to like before Force Awakens.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm very excited. They've got
that's a very interesting time period.
It is, and it's something like this Phasma novel, and then there's the Leia novel, but there's not much information about that time, and everything that has come out regarding that time period has given us some new insight. Like the big thing about the Leia novel is we get to find out that Kylo was never told about his grandfather. They kept that a secret from him. So like knowing that when you read Bloodlines and you hear that and you hear about the fact that they never told Kylo, and then how he finds out in the book, I don't want to spoil it, but like obviously Kylo Ren finds out that fucking Darth Vader is his grandfather, but like how he finds out, it makes his turn more believable. It makes his kind of like his turn to the dark side a bit more believable, and his obsession with Darth Vader more believable.
Yeah,
it just adds stuff. And then the Phasma book, like that is really just improving on that character and really expanding the First Order as well. So I'm excited to get into that time period, especially like one story that spans the entire time, because you have these stories that exist within that time period, but they literally said they were like, you're going to go from Endor to The Force Awakens, like you're going to cover that whole period. And they've got great actors as well. They got the guy who plays Detective Lance in Arrow. They've got him coming in to do some facial stuff and voices and stuff. But yeah, I'm so excited for that game, man.
It's gonna be great.
I hope so. Oh, Chloe's not happy about it. She's
she's not excited about Star Wars, really.
No, that's fair.
Actually, they do have those nice they're Forces of Destiny. Forces, I think it is.
Yeah, I've been enjoying
these little cartoon shorts.
Hmm.
They're like 3-4 minutes long, and they like focus on like female characters in Star Wars. They're really good, actually.
Yeah, I think that like it's. I was expecting them to be a bit more. Not that I would have had a problem with this, but I was expecting them to be a bit more like heavy on the like, the whole like like female empowerment stuff, and obviously that would be fine, but they kind of just tell a story with the female character, and they don't they don't take it too far. They don't go like, oh, this is a woman beating up men, you know, and that's fine. Like, I get that needs to be out there sometimes, but like, they're kind of just stories about the women, and they're good stories, and I like that they didn't kind of go too hard on that, you know. So I've been enjoying those. I've been really enjoying those, and I think they're respecting the characters a lot. I really like the Ahsoka and Padme one, because that's a relationship that I think we could have seen more of in the Clone Wars, but
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I like it, but yeah,
just Padme getting to do more in general.
Yeah, but like that's the thing. Like, you know, as much as I think those movies kind of suck. Like, she kicks ass in the second one, especially. Like when they're like, you got two Jedis and her hooked up, and she does the most badass scenes. She has the most badass scenes, like she's climbing up the thing and stuff. And I don't know. I think I'm just enjoying a lot of the Star Wars stuff coming out now, and I'm just, as a fan, I'm just appreciating it. And I really like that they've brought in a lot of new people. A lot of people they've annoyed, because a lot of people, anything new with Star Wars is just annoying to them, and they don't like it. But I think that there's a whole new generation of people, and even people who didn't enjoy Star Wars before as much, they're coming in and being like, well, I really like Rey. Like, Rey's a cool character. I didn't think they were going to do something like that before, and stuff like that, you know. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, it's nice.
All right. So the big thing of this podcast is we're going to bring topics, and sometimes they're going to be serious, sometimes they're going to be silly. I don't think we have two serious topics this week, but I'm excited. I'm excited to get into these topics and kind of talk about them. We've, you know, with the Phasma thing, talking about villains and stuff, we've kind of gone villain wise.
Nice thematic.
Yeah, I think I might call this villains. You know, it's kind of a villains themed podcast. What's your topic? What's your topic for today that we're going to be discussing?
So I was playing Batman Arkham, the mobile game.
Is it Black?
Arkham Underground?
Yeah, I thought it was
something like that. But basically, it's like one of those, you build your like build your village, you build your hideout, and then you send your guys out to invade other hideouts and get money, and, you know, to expand more and do more like that.
Yeah.
And you're playing as all the Batman rogues. And I was looking at all the Batman rogues, and I was like, Batman has arguably the best rogues gallery of any superhero. I personally love Flash and Spider-Man also.
Yeah, he definitely is the biggest.
He is the biggest.
Yeah.
And, like, a lot of those characters are so distinct. And I was thinking, I was kind of like, if I was a Batman villain, which one would I be? Because they're all so distinct, and they all, like, tackle, if you want to get meta with it, like, you know, different, like, personality quirks and things. And so I was like, I was wondering which one do I most, like, relate to in a weird way. So it was a very introspective moment.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question because, you know, I think superhero comic books a lot of the times, you know, other than being, like, escapist, they also love to be like, oh, this guy's just like you. You know, if you had superpowers or if you had a bunch of money, you could do this as well. So the superheroes, they do rely on relatability a lot. Maybe not so much Batman. Well, maybe if you're like, you know, if you feel like you've had a hard time, but like a lot of
but not a hard time because you're a millionaire.
Yeah, true. Maybe you had like one bad day, as the Joker says.
Yeah. One bad day.
But like a lot of, especially like Flash is very much a relatable character to a lot of people. Green Arrow politically is like a very relatable character. You know, Green Lantern, you know, they all kind of pry on these like things of like, oh man, I feel the same way as him. I just don't have his power, and I could do that, you know. But you never get that with villains a lot. I don't feel like you get sympathetic villains. But you never get.
But they don't want you to see yourself as this person.
Yeah. Maybe the villains will say stuff like that, but usually the message of the thing is, no, you know, we're different to them. We're not the same. Yeah. It's not one bad day separating us.
But it was interesting because I had to look and think like, okay, like, let's have one bad day. And what would that look like? And I thought for a while, and I was like, you know what? Mr. Freeze.
Oh my god, we chose the same guy.
We did. I could tell you. I bet I understand the main reason.
I mean, yeah,
it's the Nora stuff.
I was looking at 100 Batman villains. I found a list online of 100 Batman villains because I wanted to get, like, if there was a super, like, obscure Batman villain that I would have related to more than Mr. Freeze. I wanted to know. I wanted to see him and go, oh yeah, I remember that guy. No, totally, that beats Mr. Freeze. But there's no one who beats Mr. Freeze because of the Nora stuff. I mean, it's his character. I don't know what he was before Paul Dini got him and did the Nora stuff. But ever since the Paul Dini, what is it called? Is it called Cold as Ice?
Heart of Ice?
Heart of Ice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ever since that story, that he's just, it's always got to be Mr. Freeze.
Jeez. Oh, I can't believe we picked that. Which isn't surprising, but it's like, I mean, if there was any reason that I would, like, turn to, like, villainy or whatever, or, like, rob things or whatever, it'd be because of family.
Yeah. And it's a feeling that, like, you get sometimes, not as extreme as the Mr. Freeze situation, but, like, of, like, the whole, because Mr. Freeze essentially is, like, you know, in a lot of adaptations that I've seen of him, he's like, I know that what I'm doing is wrong. I know I shouldn't be doing this. I know that it's against it. He's not like a lot of other villains where he goes, I deserve it. It's like he doesn't think he deserves more. He doesn't think that he's above anyone. He's just like, I don't care that what I'm doing is wrong because it's for the one thing that I care about more than that. You know, I care about Nora more than Law and Order and all that stuff. And it's interesting because you feel like, you know, you're on Batman's side, but you're also like, well, I feel like if you were in Mr. Freeze's situation, you would be fighting Batman as well.
I would lose so quickly.
I would love to see you in Mr. Freeze's costume, like just being beaten by Batman. Like, no, because it's Nora. It's like it's the best excuse to become a villain. Not excuse, obviously, but it's the best reason that they've ever come up with. Because, like, think about it, like Bane. Okay, he loves drugs, I guess. I don't know. Like, sometimes he's a leader of a country or a cartel or something.
I'd say, the whole the I Am Suicide stuff in the recent Tom King's Batman's amazing. But he gave some pretty good stuff for Bane of just, like, more just fleshing that guy out more, especially for me, because I don't know much about Bane, and I'm not the biggest Batman guy. Like, I've read Batman stories. Everyone's like, dude, you need to read this, like Grant Morrison stuff, and like, but I've never been like, I'm a Batman guy.
And like, even like someone like me who, like, I do love Batman, and I think I am more of a Batman guy. I was not so much anymore, because you kind of read the stories that you need to read with Batman, and then you kind of run out because everyone's like, oh, this is the story. But like, I've always loved the villains and the rogues, and I think that like Riddler is one of my favorite characters. Even outside of Batman, I think Riddler's just. And I was thinking about Riddler, and I was thinking about him because he's my favorite Batman villain, and being like, do I relate to him? And I'm like, well, no, because the Riddler is like, it's understandable. He has this thing where he needs to prove that he's smart because he constantly was told that he wasn't. You know, he needs to prove to people that he's worth it, that he's smart, that he, you know, he's worthy of stuff. And because he was never told that as a kid, he was always told that he was stupid and stuff. But like, I don't relate to that. You know, I sympathize with that, but I don't empathize with it.
Exactly. Like, I sympathize with that, and like, but at the end of the day, like, I don't value knowledge that much.
Yeah, and I think a lot of Batman villains, they value themselves over everything else. Whereas, or their reputation, or they value how much they can make other people feel like them, you know? Whereas Mr. Freeze is one of the only characters who is a villain who values someone else more than himself, you know? And that's why he's a villain. Man, I cannot believe... I mean, it's predictable, but I cannot believe we picked the same character.
Like, once we both, it's like, well, of course we had the same reasoning. We think along the same lines, like, you know, these amazing people in our lives that, like, you know, don't know what to do without them. So it's like, it makes sense. So we're just gonna be the Freeze twins.
Well, I think I don't know. You could maybe go with Mr. Freeze and Captain Cold because they're similar. Because Captain Cold obviously with his sister, but I think Captain Cold, there's a lot of him where you go, wait, this has nothing to do with your sister now. You just hate Flash.
Yeah, you just want, like, respect.
Yeah,
you know, like, kind of a way of like.
Yeah, because he was always like, he was a thief before his sister got into that situation. But like, I think that like with Mr. Freeze specifically, you never really, and maybe there's obviously going to be examples of this, but in general, you never see Mr. Freeze, being like, oh yeah, I'll join the Joker's group of crazy people to like take Batman down. Like he's never part of those big villain organizations and being like, because he only cares about Nora and he's only going to rob her back.
Unless
he's
he
only
can
going
get
to do
something
something
out of it, like.
Yeah, if he's helping Nora, then he'll do it. But if it's nothing to do with Nora and it's just to do with killing Batman, then he doesn't really involve himself, I think.
Yeah.
Which I think is why. Like, he's such a relatable character. And it's why that storyline, The Heart of Ice, is such a compelling Batman story that a lot of people who don't watch the animated series don't even know about. Because I think it existed first in the animated series and then they kind of touched on it. But...
Yeah, and like I don't know what his whole backstory is now because like so much stuff that changes. Comics change constantly.
Yeah.
But the most recognizable version of that character is, I mean, heck, Arnold Schwarzenegger was that version of the character.
Yeah, he was
in
a
Batman
crazy,
and Robin.
insane version, but he was that version of the character. And I think Mr. Freeze existed like way back in like the '60s show as well. But he was just like a kooky guy with an ice gun. Like he was more like yeah. But yeah, it's just and like I think I read a Greg Capullo. I love Greg Capullo. I think he's a great Batman writer.
Yeah.
But I read a story where Mr. Freeze was obsessed with this, this girl in ice called Nora, but he never knew her. Like he found her and she was in ice, and he's obsessed with getting her out because he thinks like he's like a insane like more Arkham style villain where he's obsessed with this woman and he thinks that if he can unthaw her she'll fall in love with him and stuff. And it was an interesting take, but at the end I ultimately was like, well, it was kind of nothing to do with Mr. Freeze. Like he had an ice gun.
Yeah.
He was obsessed with Nora, but I was like, it's not his character, and I feel like his character is kind of tied to that Heart of Ice storyline now.
That he's just like he's kind of a normal guy.
Yeah.
Who just kind of like out of love.
Just weeping. Yeah, and I like that they kind of portray that in his performance in the show. He doesn't talk with a crazy voice. He doesn't like say things that are insane. He doesn't call his gadgets like he doesn't have the Freeze Palace. He doesn't have the lair that's like a crazy name. He literally, and that's what I like about
the Arkham games.
Yeah, carry on. Sorry.
Is that they kind of like he helps out Batman.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, I remember the one in I think it's Arkham City where he
gives him like the grenade or whatever.
Yeah. And
which sounds really weird. He gives Batman the grenade, but
no, but it makes sense because it's like if Batman can help, then he's an ally. It's Batman's only a villain to him when he's trying to stop him.
When he's standing in the way of his goal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, Batman villains. They're very interesting, and sometimes when you get to think about that other part of yourself and go like, okay, well, what do I really like? What is something that I care about that would make me do things that like maybe goes against like my moral code?
Yeah, and it's I part of me feels a bit bad that we didn't get it fleshed out more with two answers, but like part of me is like I'm excited to see what other people would say and how many other people would say Mr. Freeze because he might be an obvious answer, but like there are people that don't have someone like that in their life, who maybe would, or there are people that do feel like the one thing they want is to be, more respected or to be more, in control. I don't know.
Yeah. Food for thought.
Yeah, very much so. My topic, again, sticking with the whole thing of villains, I was like thinking about this is a perfect segue actually because Mr. Freeze's origin, we talk about it being so good and being so interesting. Which villain do you think, and this goes out for everything now, I was thinking about which villain would you love, just maybe if you don't even hate the origin story of them, but which villain do you think you would like change their origin, or would you do something different that you think could really more suit their character and kind of make it so that they make more sense. And I've been thinking about this a lot because there are so many villains I think with such like, I don't want to say basic, but just like like for example, like the Riddler is like a villain that I feel like could have used a bit more. just something like a story, you know, like it's always alluded to that, like, oh, you know, he wants to feel smart, and we all know that he wants to feel smart and he wants to outsmart people, but like I want to get that, like, kind of that gritty story, you know, like the hard device. Like, is there a villain you think that you maybe, even if you don't like them, you think you could change them and redo it to the point where their origin story is a bit better and a bit more suits their character?
You know, this is a really hard question. I was like, there are a lot of villains that I love their stories and love their characters. Then I was like, okay, but who do I not? That's the interesting thing, is like, who is just like super, you know, boring or whatever. Honestly, I love Jason Todd.
Okay.
And I would honestly, like, if anything, I just want to change, like, the trajectory.
Okay, so you're talking about the Red Hood.
I want him to stay a villain. Because he becomes this weird anti-hero Punisher guy. And I think he would have worked better as a strictly, like, as much as I love the redemption story and love all that Vegeta nonsense. Huge fan of the bad guy becomes a good guy, like that story. I just feel like with the abandonment and, like, all the stuff of, like, you left me, like, you went and got a new Robin. Like, I wasn't even your first choice. I was just some punk that you picked up that you, like, didn't care for, really. You know, you were just looking for someone to fill this hole. Like, I feel like he's a better villain than he is, like, an anti-hero.
Yeah, and I think that, like, the way that they dealt with the transition to villain to anti-hero was so awkward and so not defined. You know, like, you could call it subtle, I guess, but I feel like it was not even subtle. It just kind of happened without anyone really realizing, you know? Yeah. Like I felt like for so long, you know, because I've been reading comics for 50 years, obviously, but I've been reading it long enough to remember when he was a villain, where in the comics he was a villain, and Jason Todd was the Red Hood who was a villain, mostly to Dick, when Dick was Batman. Like, he was a big dick villain. Well, that did not sound right.
Yep, that was great.
but and I remember just being like, wait, he's a vigilante now, or he's a Punisher. I don't. Like, there was a while where none of us really knew what DC were doing with him, and it wasn't until, like, maybe, like, Red Hood and the Outlaws.
Yeah, where they just went full into the. Yeah. You know, he's just a good guy now.
And we were just like, okay, like, people were like, oh yeah, hey, but he's a dick. He's a good guy, but he's not a great person.
But he's a jerk.
And I was like, we have
and it's
those. Like we have Speedy.
I would rather, like, for a while. Keep him a villain. Like, I mean, I would honestly change up, like, if I could go back in time before Death of the Family, change up his whole story. You know, to be this kid that, you know, tries to steal Batman's wheels, whatever, which makes no sense, but he tries to rob the Batmobile. That's just how and Batman kind of, like, just beats him up. Like, he would beat up, like, any criminal. Like, I'm upping his age at this point. Because, like, when they first meet, I think he's, like, a boy. So, like, I'm saying, like, the normal, like, 20-something, like, kid. Like, 20-something where, like, yeah, he's not, like, a grown adult. But he's still, like, a normal thug that Batman would just kind of bruise up.
Yeah, and, like, it makes sense if he was a little older. Some of the stuff that, you know, he didn't unlearn would make more sense, because it was like he wasn't like Dick, where he was teaching him from, like, a young age, where he almost had, like, a profound parent, like, impact on him.
It's like he has this anger, and this also, like, how he fights is different. And I've always liked that when they, like, kind of try to throw in that every Robin fights differently, and Jason is the bruiser.
Yeah.
He's not this flippy guy. He's a guy who's going to walk in, break your arm, and, like, bust up your nose. Like, that's the type of fighter. And
I think that, like, having him as the Robin he's the one Robin who doesn't see Batman as, like, a father figure would make more sense then to his, you know, the death of the family storyline, because it makes sense, you know, because he kind of just loses it. He hears that the woman might be his mum. Like, there's no hard evidence. He's like, this woman might be my mum. So he's like, oh, well, I'm going. He's like, and I think it makes more sense then if you, like you said, age him up, so that when Batman does bring him in, there's not that parent son bond. It's more of like a teacher or like an overbearing teacher, and then you get it makes more sense then why he would decide to go against Batman when all the other Robins are so loyal to him.
Then like he dies and comes back.
Yeah.
Comes back as like the Red Hood, whatever, and like I mean his story like ends with him dying in my eyes. Like I'm just changing like his whole. I know the question was like origin story. I just changed his whole entire life.
I made you go
but
first.
But like I would just like it has to be this like thing where he comes back, becomes a villain, and like the only way his story can like have a narrative like what's the word I'm looking for? Narrative like yeah, kind of like a circle, but like comeuppance. Like this is like the through line.
Yeah,
is like with him dying. He comes back, but like eventually like Jason Todd dies. He's the Robin that failed, and that is his story, is that he is the one Robin that Bruce wasn't able to save.
Yeah, and I think having him die, not necessarily at the hands of Batman, but like but in a situation where like maybe he falls and Batman doesn't catch him, and that's how he dies. Or like he dies
I love
to
the scene in the animated movie where did you watch the Under the Hood animated film?
Yeah, dude, I think it's better than the film.
Really, it's so good. But there's the bomb scene with him, definitely, Joker, and Batman. And I just love like this idea of this crazed Jason Todd with like his eyes wide open, who's like, this is the only way it can end. Us three right here, one big happy family, and like he presses the button, whatever.
Yeah. I think
and like Bruce makes it out and Joker makes it out, but like Jason doesn't.
There's
maybe he's still alive, but like he's probably not.
Yeah, there's an element as well of like of finalization that you get in that movie. Like, yeah, maybe he did survive, and maybe they wanted you to believe that he survived because they kind of wanted that movie to replace the comic book origin. In some ways, it did because they talk about the Lazarus Pit more now, which wasn't really in the comic that much.
Yeah.
But there is an element of that movie where you can go, no, that's the end of his story. I do want to point out that while I was trying to listen to you. And also make my rebuttal, Jen was drawing on me with a Sharpie because she is the human version of a cat.
Yeah.
I just want to know if anyone was like, what is that sound of Cameron struggling? Yeah, anyway. Yeah, Jen, I swear is my fiancée.
It's good. At the same time, my daughter grabbed a salt shaker and poured it upside down onto the table.
I love that I'm
so we all have stuff going on.
I love that you are trying to deal with your 2-year-old, and I'm like, my 22-year-old fiance is being... Oh, gosh. Yeah, I guess...
Since I completely went away from the actual original question, go ahead.
I think that it's still... It's good, though, because that is the thing, though. Like, the origin... One of the interesting things about, I think, this question is, like, the origin would change it. It would influence how... And, like you said, having him aged up, it would change everything else. It would change how Batman would deal with him when he turns evil. Because if he turns evil when he's, like, 15? I can't remember how old he was.
Yeah.
It's a bit different. I made you go first, and I apologize for that, because, you went first for your question. But it was really because I've been struggling with this. I loved the question. I was like, dude, I love this question. This is great. We can talk about this. This can change the origin,
Yeah.
And then I really was like, oh my God, there are so many villains with so many origins that I don't like, but just like, I don't have any better ideas for a lot of them,
Yeah.
Like, I think that you can do... the awkward thing with the comic books as well is sometimes there will be an origin out there, and there will be this great book, this little mini series, or maybe it was a couple issues and they cancelled the series, where it'll retell a villain's origin, and it'll do a really good job and do something different. But like either DC, Marvel, whatever, they'll just be like, no, that doesn't really work, and then it'll default back to the one that we all know.
Yeah.
So there might be these origins that we talk about that we love for these characters that they already exist, but it's just like, I'm kind of talking like, the origin that you think could be an interesting, like you were saying, like it would be cool if Jason Todd did die, and then we had all these comics where like he was dead, and obviously they want to bring him back because they bring everyone
into
back.
Like anime manga recently.
Yeah.
And like, even though like there are some things like One Piece and whatever that like go for hundreds of whatevers, some of them are short and whatever. But like characters have like finite endings to their story. Mm. And like a lot of times, this a thing that American comics doesn't do is that they don't. Sometimes a character is made for a purpose and they only have one purpose.
Yeah.
They are a one-time character, and then they just keep on coming back, and everyone knows like, dude, they only work within the context of that one story, and that's the only thing they were needed for. But because they were popular, they became, like used more frequently.
Yeah, and I think even really good villains suffer with that. Like again, we talk about how much we love Mr. Freeze. He suffers with that, where people will bring him in, and you're like, this isn't benefiting Nora. Why are you doing this? Like,
exactly.
Like, and he's like, well, money can go to Nora, I guess. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, what are you doing?
I think, though, I've been thinking about this, and I really think that, like, the villains that I think I want to change the origin most aren't the ones necessarily that I think are boring, but they're ones that I, like you said, that I really like the idea of them. Like these villains I said, like where they keep coming back because people like the idea of them more than like their purpose,
Yeah.
And I think one of them could be Mysterio. I think that he's such a cool character that everyone loves. Like every comic book fan is like, oh dude, they're gonna use Mysterio in this movie, and then they don't, and you're like, ah. But I think the reason they don't is because Mysterio, like, it's kind of weird, his origin. Like, where he's like a special effects artist.
Yeah.
And you're like, how did he get from there to this? Like, I don't see. And it's not like Spider-Man has to have realistic villains. Like a lot of Batman villains are gangsters because he doesn't have powers. So they need to be these elaborate, the Joker is just a gangster that wears makeup sometimes. He's gone further before. But like,
yeah,
with Spider-Man, he has all sorts. He has science fiction, he has mystic, he has crazy, like, he's Spider-Man. He can fight anyone. A lot of his rogues are just all over the place. They don't have to be science-based. A lot of them are because of, the nature of his web shooting as his origins. But, like, I think Mysterio really could do with, like, a bit more of a mystic type backstory. Like, something that's a bit more... I still like the idea of him being a fake and a fraud, because he's such he's such a cool character. But maybe instead of him using, just special effects, I like the idea of somewhere in his origin, maybe even after he's a villain and then Spider-Man beats him, and then it happens sometime around after Spider-Man's beaten him, like maybe the fourth time for, he's like, this isn't working. I think it would have been cool to elevate that character by having him make some kind of like Ghost Rider type deal. A lot of these deals get made, not just in the Marvel universe, but specifically in the Spider-Man universe. Like, people are always making deals with demons. It's like a common occurrence. I think it would be really cool to have this character who is like, he's outed. By this point, the entire of New York and all the New York heroes and all the Marvel villains, all the Marvel heroes, sorry, not villains. We're talking about villains too much. They all know he's a fraud. Then nobody's scared of him. He can do the coolest special effects. Like, he has all, like, maybe the whole of New York is shrouded in his fog and stuff, and he's got fireworks going off, and he's like, oh, I'm the mighty Mysterio. I've got a goldfish bowl on my head.
Yeah, but, and like, everyone's just like, eh.
Yeah, everyone's like, none of it, we know it's fake. Like, we know it's fake. We know you're Mysterio. The guy, like, it kind of loses its luster after the first time Spider-Man fights him, because the plot of that... But, like, I think it would be really interesting if we have, like, some kind of idea where he, like, sacrifices something huge to finally get that power. And then not only do you have that conflict within him where it's like we figure out what he cares about, what he sacrificed for that power, and, like, is it worth it? But you'll also get interesting, Spider-Man going up against him, being like, oh, dude, it's the goldfish guy. He's fake, I can beat him.
Yeah.
Pulling the goldfish off his head. The goldfish ball. I keep calling it a goldfish ball, but like pulling his mask off or something, and then there really being nothing there. And then Spider-Man slowly being like, okay, where are the wires? Where is the smoke screen? Where's the fake? And then slowly realizing, oh, this is real. Like Mysterio actually has powers now. Like, I just think that's the only way you can kind of go with that character, because his whole gimmick is gone in the first couple of fights. I don't know.
And because he's always been that guy just kind of who shows up and, like, I know there's some weird thing with, like, the Ultimate Universe version of him.
I'm not sure about that. I don't
I haven't been keeping up with like a lot of Spider-Man stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's like it's one of those things where like it can only last for so long.
Yeah.
So what is the next logic? Like, what is the next step? It's like, well, you live in a world with all of this stuff. So of course, a guy who's using special effects and stuff, wouldn't he just be like, hey, well, anyone can do magic, and like there's just Stephen Strange guy, like I can do that too.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
And it would one of the big things as well is like I really don't. I do know a lot of people that love that character and be like, oh, dude, I hope he's in the next game or the next movie and stuff. But like, we love the idea of him, and like kind of the design especially, like it's pretty iconic. But there's got to be something more. There's got to be like a story. There's got to be some kind of like thing that he's fighting for. Again, he needs his Nora. He needs his like motivation. And like I always found that the whole like, no, I wanted to be a special effects artist. Like I just thought it was like a little bit like you wouldn't turn to villainy for that. Like you wouldn't.
Yeah.
You're like And I thought like I go back to like I don't know if you ever played the video games with him or I think it was the animated series where he has his like nightmare house, his like ghost nightmare house where you go in and Spider-Man's like, what is going on? And like things seem to be coming out of nowhere, but then he finds the wires and stuff. It would be cool to have like like Spider-Man goes back to the nightmare house, but it's like real this time, and it's like actual dragons and demons and stuff. And like you mentioned, like Doctor Strange, like what if he was like, oh god, I need to get Doctor Strange. This guy's out of my depth. Like, I just thought that'd be an interesting thing. Guys, I thought this was a really, really good podcast. I thought this was good. Me too. I think we went in.
This is a fun episode.
Yeah, I think I went in being like, this will be like a cool, like we'll figure out what works and what doesn't. But it ended up being really interesting, and not that I had low hopes, but I enjoyed it. If you enjoy this podcast, please tell us, because again, we'll probably keep doing it for a while because we like hanging out and we like talking about these things. So this is just an excuse for us to, sit down and talk. But if you guys enjoy, and if you have any like queries or being like, hey, maybe you talk about this next time, maybe this is a possible topic, or if you like one of the segments better and you want us to expand on it, tell us. But that's kind of the basic thing. We tried it out. I'm pretty proud.
I like this setup. It's reconnecting, and then we're talking about like, especially once superhero show season gets back, I'm sure the current obsession thing will lengthen. Maybe.
It's again, we're coming to the end now, so I don't want to get too into it. It's getting out of hand. There are so many superhero TV shows.
I haven't even finished Defenders yet. Like,
are you serious? Oh my god! I can't blame you, because it's crazy. Like there are shows coming out, right? That like I feel like out of my group of friends, like my in real life friends, I'm the most like comic book guy. Like I read a lot of comics and I keep up on this stuff. There are people being like, oh dude, have you seen like Berserk? And I'm like, what is that? And they're like, you don't know Berserk? It's based off a comic book. It's been running for 7 seasons. I'm like, what are all these shows? Like, I don't know what's happening.
It's like, crazy.
There's like, I didn't know for like the first 2 seasons. I didn't realize Lucifer was based on a comic, and I felt real stupid. Yeah. I felt real stupid when that turned out.
I can't wait for that Punisher show. Did you see the trailer?
Oh, dude!
Oh my god, it looks so good.
I mean, the season 2 of Daredevil is basically the best trailer for Punisher that there's ever been.
It is.
There's a lot we got to talk about. There's that we have this thing where we talk about Comic-Con pretty much every year. We skipped it this year. I don't feel like going back. It's been so long.
And then nothing really happened either.
No, it was a lot of like adaptation stuff, like film stuff, but there was not much in comic book stuff. I did see a weird thing. This isn't Comic-Con. This is like recent. I saw like a Flash Batman thing recently. I don't know if you know what this is.
Oh yeah, so DC Metal.
Oh yeah.
It's the name of the event with Scott Snyder. And so there's this like dark universe to truncate it, and there are these dark Batmen that are like here's an evil Batman Flash, and here's like an evil Batman Joker guy, and like I haven't been following it, but it's like really interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I saw it and I was like, part of me was like, that's cool, and then the other part of me was like, are we running out of ideas? What is it was the logo. It was the most like fan-arty logo. It was a bat with a lightning bolt through it. And I was like, this is like, like I always remember when there was the storyline of like, it wasn't really a storyline, but it was kind of like a little thing of like, Batman getting a Green Lantern ring, and you got to see like a merger between the two costumes. I was like, that is like the precipice. And then with the Flash thing, it was just like, it's a little bit over the edge. But I don't know. There's still good comics. There are. You just got to look for them. Yeah.
I just haven't really been following like super close to recent comics. I've been leaning more towards the other side of the spectrum recently.
Yeah, and like there's so much good indie stuff coming out. And it's hard to remember that there is a mainstream, you know? And there's still good stories in the mainstream. When you've got like Sex Criminals, and I've been reading Giant Days. Oh my god, I'll get into Giant Days on one of the future podcasts. But Giant Days, such a great indie comic. It's just about uni students, and it's great.
Nice.
So thanks for joining me, John. Yeah. It's always good to talk to you. It's always good to catch up, and it's always good to record that as well, because then we can listen to it back and be like, oh yeah, we had fun times. We had fun times.
It's a pleasure. At Johnsick on Twitter.
Yes, if you want to hear
you ever want to hit me up.
The latest wrestling riffs and jokes.
Yeah.
And it's at Cameron P. Morris. I don't tweet much, but when I do, it's all right. I want to thank you guys for listening again, and like I said before, if you have any queries or questions or suggestions, just leave them in the comments, and hopefully we'll get to it. Thanks for listening. I've been Cameron.
And I've been John.
And we shall see you next time.